You open your eyes for the very first time, not in a crib, but in an incubation pod. Congratulations, you've just been born on planet Vegeta, home world of the Saiyans. But you're not a baby, you're actually around 3 years old. As you look around, you see more pods with other children inside them. Some doctors come by to measure your power level, and you don't know it yet, but thanks to that number, your whole life has already been decided. Your life might sound like it's just starting, but in many ways, the best days of your life have already passed. You'll be raised in isolation from your parents. Here, there's no family gathered to celebrate your arrival in this world. Instead, as soon as you are born, you're placed in a controlled incubator alongside dozens of other newborns. When you were in the chamber, your parents would come to visit from time to time, but in Saiyan culture, the concept of family is something more of an asset than an emotional bond. Saiyans think of attachment as a weakness that could compromise a warrior's effectiveness in battle. Things like love, affection, and the desire to protect your child are considered dangerous sentiments that might make you hesitate when you should be striking without mercy. While your parents may be there as you grow, don't expect them to show any kind of affection. Your childhood is a training into a warrior culture, and you'll do it completely alone. You were put in an incubator until your body could resist the conditions of the planet. Combat training begins almost as soon as you can walk. You're thrown into situations where you have to fight or be killed. This has an impact on your mind, and it's exactly what the system wants. You learn that violence is normal, and that your value as a person depends on your ability to kill others. Training is hard, and it's designed to break anyone who can't survive it. If you're too weak to handle the training, then you're too weak to be a warrior, and the Saiyan race is better off without you. If someone dies on training, you don't see it as something tragic. Instead, you just continue with the program, learning that weakness is fatal and that nobody is coming to save you if you can't save yourself. But at least you're lucky, because if you were one of the weaker children, you'd be sent on a mission earlier where your training would be trying to survive while you fight on another planet. You grow up in a culture where you only have comrades instead of friends. You might train and fight alongside someone for years, but you don't know much about them. The only thing you know is that everyone has the same desire as you, to fight. Because your whole culture is all about being a warrior that dominates other species, you and everyone else on the planet grow with a huge sense of pride. The Saiyans have a hierarchy of power that rules their society. Your power level is 1200. Which puts you in the category of a low-class warrior, just like the majority of the same population. But your category is more than just a title. Your power level determines where you can go, what you can do, who you can associate with, and what your life will look like. At the very top are the super elite, which are known as the royal family. There's only one family in this category, and they all have a power level of above 10,000. Then you have the mid-class warriors, those whose power levels fall somewhere between 1,500 and 8,000. You have to be extremely lucky to be in this power level. In fact, there are only about 10 of these in the entire Saiyan race. Mid-class warriors get assigned to more significant missions than you ever will. They have better living quarters, and they're generally treated with a baseline level of respect that low-class Saiyans like you will never experience. They're still disposable in the grand scheme of things, but they're disposable in a way that at least acknowledges they had some value. And then there's you, stuck in the low-class designation with thousands of other Saiyans whose power levels mark them as expendable military equipment. But at least you're considered something. In this system, children with a power level below 1000 can't even try. These children aren't worth the resources it would take to train them. So these low-power babies are designated as infiltration babies, placed in space pods while still infants, and launched towards distant planets identified as weak enough for them to conquer on their own. The baby lands on the planet, hopefully survives the initial landing, grows up wild and isolated, and eventually exterminates the native population. Once the planet is cleared, the now adult Saiyan signals for pickup, and the world is sold on the galactic market. The infiltration baby program has an extremely high mortality rate. Most of these children die. Many arrive on planets that turn out to be way more dangerous than anticipated. Some may fail to access their Saiyan strength quickly enough. or pods malfunction, causing them to perish in the vacuum of space. Some become feral, their Saiyan instincts twisted by complete isolation into something that's neither fully Saiyan nor fully integrated into their adopted world. They live and die alone, without a name. Your power level of 1200 saved you from this fate, but that doesn't mean you'll have a normal life. Elite Saiyans don't associate with low-class warriors unless absolutely necessary. Mid-class warriors might acknowledge your existence if you're serving on the same mission, but they're not going to treat you as an equal. Your entire social world consists of other low-class Saiyans, people who are just as trapped in this system as you are. All of you bonded by shared insignificance rather than any genuine connection. The worst part is that it'll never change. Saiyans can rarely increase their power level. Every mission that you're sent on will match your power level. So you will never face a real challenge that'll make you stronger. Even if you train extremely hard during the missions, it'll still be the same. The rare exception to this rule is so unusual that it becomes legendary. But even then, the social stigma of being born low class never fully disappears. You can get stronger, but you can never quite escape where you started. While you train to become a warrior, the physical burden of being a Saiyan hits you every moment of every day. Starting with the simple fact of the planet's gravity. At 10 times the gravitational force of most habitable planets, your home planet is like a training ground that never stops challenging your body. Even with your years in the incubation chamber to prepare your body, your muscles, bones, and cardiovascular system are all under constant strain. Every movement requires more effort than it would elsewhere. Standing upright is harder, walking is harder, even breathing becomes a challenge. Your body adapts to this with high muscle density. Your muscles are more compact and powerful than those of most other species, allowing you to move freely in such a harsh environment. But this advantage doesn't come without a cost. The metabolism required to maintain such dense, powerful muscles is absolutely brutal. Your body burns through calories at a rate that would be considered impossible in most species. You need to eat constantly, consuming quantities of food that would seem absurd to anyone watching. A normal meal for you might contain enough calories to feed a family of humans for a week. And even then, you'll still be hungry again in a couple hours. In practical terms, this means that an enemy capable of cutting off your food supply has found your critical weakness. That means that prolonged battles in environments where food is scarce becomes your worst enemy. Your greatest physical advantages are inseparable from a vulnerability that can be exploited by anyone who understands your biology. On the outside, your body is basically the same as a human, but with a tail that extends from the base of your spine. It helps with your equilibrium, but it's also another advantage that feels more like a weakness. Your tail is actually quite sensitive, and when grabbed or squeezed, it causes immediate incapacitating pain while completely shutting down your access to power. An enemy who manages to get hold of your tail can reduce you from a fearsome warrior to a helpless victim in seconds. You'd think evolution would have eliminated such an obvious weakness, but the tail persists because it's necessary for accessing one of your greatest powers, the Great Ape Transformation. This transformation is a biological ability that provides enormous power at the cost of a potential loss of control. When you're exposed to sufficient reflected sunlight from a moon, your body begins a violent transformation. Your size multiplies, brown fur covers your body, your teeth and nails become enormous fangs and claws, and your power level increases by 10. For someone with your power level of 1200, that means jumping to 12,000. A massive boost that makes you capable of destroying much more powerful opponents. But here's the thing about the Great Ape form. You're not really in control. Low-class Saiyans like you typically lose all consciousness and rational thought during the transformation. You become a berserker, a mindless monster that attacks everything in sight, regardless of whether it's a friend or foe. If you transform, you could kill your enemies, but also other Saiyans. Elite Saiyans can sometimes maintain consciousness with specialized training. But for the rest of the Saiyans like you, the full moon is a threat rather than an opportunity. Even so, low-class warriors have their tails removed permanently after a transformation goes wrong, accepting the loss of that potential power in exchange for never having to worry about becoming an uncontrollable monster again. When you're around 11 years old, you're sent to your first mission to conquer a planet along with other survivors of the training. When you arrive, you notice that your body and everything around you feels lighter. You're faster and can carry tons of weight easily. Because of your training and the gravity, you're stronger on other planets. You're confident that you could take everyone on the planet on your own, but you learn your first lesson. The Saiyan race is one of the strongest, but that doesn't mean that the others are weak. You and your comrades erase the majority of life on the planet, but you end up hurt, tired, and lose your consciousness. You wake up in a recovery chamber on your planet, but you notice something different. Your body has another unusual property, the Zenkai boost. This allows you to increase your power level after recovering from near-fatal injuries. The more severe the damage, the greater the power increase. It's an adaptation that makes perfect sense for a warrior species. Every battle that doesn't kill you makes you stronger, creating a population that grows more powerful through surviving combat. But the mechanism has a dark side that shapes how Saiyans approach training and combat. You think that the optimal path to power isn't through disciplined practice or technique refinement. It's through getting hurt, badly, and repeatedly. The Zenkai boost rewards self-destruction, so you start to see value in injuries that bring you close to the edge of death. Because you know that if you survive, recovery will only make you stronger. You begin to seek out fights against opponents who are more powerful than you are. Not because you're confident in their ability to win, but because you want to be more powerful. You even orchestrate your own near deaths, having allies or medical staff hurt you to the edge of dying before healing you, creating artificial Zenkai boosts. Over time, you develop a strange relationship with your own mortality. Death becomes less frightening, not because you're brave, but because you've been conditioned to see it as just a failure state in a gamble you're taking for power gains. But the worst part is, the Zenkai boost becomes less and less efficient with time. After a certain point, the boosts become less significant. All that suffering, all those near-death experiences, eventually stop providing meaningful gains. But by then, the damage to your psychology is already done. You continue to grow in power and survive more missions until you reach the peak of your youth around 20 years old. Saiyans stay looking the same until they're around 80 years old. So you'll stay like this almost until you die. However, because you're now in your prime, it's time to have children. You want to breed great warriors, so you look for a woman who possesses strong character, which would in turn better your chance to have powerful sons. But Saiyan culture isn't just emotionally cold, it's actively designed to prevent emotional bonds. Relationships exist primarily as transactional agreements. Partnerships form for reproduction purposes, specifically to produce strong children who can carry on the warrior legacy. Sometimes these relationships have political dimensions, establishing alliances between families or factions. But the idea of choosing a partner because of love or happiness isn't something you can expect. You have a son, but just like you, he will grow without you. Even though he's still your son and you want to teach him to be a great warrior, the Saiyan lifestyle is not designed for that. Like the other Saiyan warriors, you'll spend the majority of your time on remote conquest missions, traveling alone or with small squads to distant planets. These assignments last months or years, during which you have essentially no contact with anyone you could care about. When you finally return to planet Vegeta, it's usually just long enough to report your success, receive new orders, maybe produce another child, and then you're gone again. The concept of building a life with someone is impossible when you're constantly being deployed to opposite ends of the galaxy. It would be extremely unusual for a mother to show care for their child. The rare Saiyan woman who expresses worry about their child or tries to maintain some kind of connection is often viewed as suspicious. This kind of behavior is seen as a softness, almost like an infection that could spread if not contained. Most Saiyan children grow up not knowing their fathers at all. They might be aware that a particular warrior is their biological parent, but there's no relationship there. Brothers might be aware of each other's existence, but never actually meet or fight side by side. Titles like grandparents, cousins, aunts, and uncles only exist as technical genetic words. There's no family gatherings, no shared traditions, no sense of belonging to something larger than yourself. You are fundamentally alone, surrounded by other Saiyans who are also alone and think that this isolation is actually strength. You're expecting a child, but the reality is that you'll never get to meet it. You get sent to worlds that are considered beneath the attention of elite fighters. Places where the indigenous population is weak enough that even a Saiyan with relatively modest power can eventually conquer. The missions are long, often lasting months or years, and they're undertaken with minimal support. If you succeed, you might get a brief acknowledgement before being shipped off to your next assignment. If you fail, nobody is coming to rescue you. You'll just be marked as a failure and sent the next low-class warrior to finish what you started. But the truth about your life as a Saiyan warrior is that you're not really a warrior at all. You're a slave. Saiyans don't work for themselves. They don't conquer planets for their own benefit, or even for the benefit of their king. They do it for the one above the king, and the one who has the Saiyan under his control, Frieza. The power imbalance is so extreme that resistance is impossible. The King of Saiyans, the strongest Saiyan alive, has a power level of around 10,000, but Frieza has a power level exceeding 530,000. He's more than 50 times stronger than the strongest Saiyan. Even the entire Saiyan population fighting together in perfect coordination couldn't defeat him. He conquered the Saiyans because he could eliminate your entire species without effort, and everyone knows it. You're ordered to go to specific planets, kill everyone living there, and prepare the planet to be sold on the galactic market. Frieza gets the profit, and you get to survive another day. Your job is to kill them all. Every man, woman, and child. Destroy their cities, eradicate their culture, eliminate any trace that they ever existed. Then you wait around to confirm that the genocide is complete before signaling that the planet is ready for its new owners. Some Saiyans cope with this by convincing themselves that the species they're exterminating is somehow lesser. Others simply just stop thinking about the moral implications at all and start treating it like any other job. But you can't completely suppress the reality of what you're doing. You're murdering entire civilizations for someone else's profit. You're not a warrior engaged in honorable combat. You're an exterminator, so real estate can be sold. And the only reason you keep doing it is because refusing means your own death, and possibly the death of every other Saiyan. During one of these missions, while you were eating, another warrior whispers something to you. He tells you about an old legend, something his squad leader told him years ago, who heard it from a veteran who claimed to have heard it from someone even older. The legend of the Super Saiyan. According to the story, once every 1,000 years, a warrior of unmatched power appears. A Super Saiyan whose strength surpasses anything previously known. It's whispered about with a mixture of relevance and desperation among low-class warriors like you, because the Super Saiyan represents hope that maybe, someday, a Saiyan might come to challenge beings like Frieza. But the story is not more than a legend. No Super Saiyan has appeared in living memory. No one you know has ever met anyone who actually witnessed a Super Saiyan transformation. But true or not, the legend has become so big that it reached Frieza's ear. And that changes everything. Frieza's paranoia about the Super Saiyan legend isn't just a fear. It becomes an obsession. Not of what the Saiyans are now, but of what they might become. You start noticing changes in how Frieza's forces treat Saiyans. Missions become more dangerous, with less support. Elite warriors are sent to more almost suicidal missions. Even just the idea that Saiyans could produce a warrior capable of threatening him is enough for Frieza to be afraid. The Super Saiyan story is still just a story. The only thing you can do is continue conquering other planets for Frieza, or die. So you go mission after mission for years, until one day you get ordered to return home immediately. All Saiyan warriors are called back to planet Vegeta for new assignments. You finish whatever genocide you were in the middle of, board your attack pod, and make your journey home. When you arrive in orbit, you see dozens of other pods converging on the planet. You begin your descent, thinking about what the new missions might be. You land on the surface and report to the command center along with hundreds of other warriors. The officials tell you to wait until the king arrives. So you wait and go to eat something. But you'll never find out what the new orders are. You look through the window and see it. A massive ball of energy that looks like a second sun. You have maybe 2 seconds to understand what's happening before the ball of energy makes contact with the planet's surface. The ground beneath your feet cracks and heaves. Heat washes over you in a wave that vaporizes the warriors closest to the impact point. The atmosphere ignites, and the planet's crust tears itself apart. You try to fly and escape, but the explosion is faster than your reaction. In those final moments when your body begins to disintegrate, you understand what's really happening. Frieza has ended the threat. The Super Saiyan legend that gave your people a hope has instead triggered your extinction. In less than 1 minute, you're dying along with your planet and your entire race. Your life doesn't flash before your eyes because there's nothing worth seeing. No loving family or meaningful moments. Just training, missions, and the constant reminder of serving a master who saw you as disposable. That is your last moment. The Saiyan race ends not with a battle, but with an execution. And you die knowing that everything you did was for nothing.